This is CBC Here and Now.
They don't do well in the realm of critical thinking, problem solving.
A call for wide-ranging changes in education.
Teachers need to be consulted. They need to be given discretion within their classes to make the right decisions. We're going to work with what we're given.
I'll tell you more about a report that was released today, coming up on Here and Now.
The final Mass at this century-old church will take place Sunday morning, but some Catholics here are not happy about it.
I'm sorry, but I find it very unjust. So I will fight, and other people are willing to fight, to see justice served.
I'm Terry Roberts. I'll have that story coming up.
Tonight on Here Now, we have a lot of weather to tell you about. Lightning, rainbows, sun, a sunrise, hail, fall, you name it. We've got it here at St. Matthew's Elementary in St. John's. These kids have dressed up as weather. We'll tell you why a little later on.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Well, what needs to happen to improve K-12 education in Newfoundland and Labrador? The answer is a long one, 200 pages long. Today, government released an independent report that offers up 90 recommendations about a wide range of issues, including class sizes, collective bargaining, and teacher allocation. Here and Now's Mark Quinn reports.
The education minister says there's one overarching concern for him. He says the focus must be on students and giving them the best possible education.
Over the years, strategically, we have not been able to shift the dial on some of our national comparator scores. We are excellent at producing students with comprehensive content knowledge. But when you look at how Newfoundland and Labrador students stack up, they don't do well in the realm of critical thinking, problem solving.
At the Provincial Teachers Association, there's agreement that students have to come first. But
we're going to work with what we're given. And if we don't have the resources we need, we're not going to be able to support students fully to the point that they can meet those outcomes.
The report looked at class sizes, but found that reducing them doesn't always improve students' ability to learn. The Teachers Union is raising concerns about the report, saying it was expected to look at teacher allocation, but also makes recommendations about collective bargaining and seniority rights.
We're very disappointed, to be honest, that this is included in this report because it goes way beyond the terms of reference for this committee. And the fact that it's there is disappointing and is unfortunate. And we're going to have to dig into that ourselves because we can't allow that to happen with regards to these discussions.
The education minister says don't expect to see all 90 recommendations adopted soon, but he says this report could lead to fundamental change in Newfoundland and Labrador's education system. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Apologies, we had some technical difficulties there with the microphone. Heather will be back with us in just a moment. Well, a 56-year-old man is dead after the ATV he was driving crashed into oncoming traffic. The Clarenville RCMP says the collision happened just after 7:30 last night on Route 210, the Burin Peninsula Highway. According to police, the man was driving his ATV along the highway shoulder and then veered into an oncoming car to avoid crashing into a moose. The ATV driver was pronounced dead at the scene. He was wearing a helmet at the time of the crash. Neither speed nor alcohol is believed to have been factors in the collision. Police say the investigation is continuing. Well, in other news, the association that speaks for doctors is disappointed government didn't provide a heads up about plans to streamline medical licensing. The provincial government is changing the Medical Act to make it easier for qualified doctors from elsewhere to work here. But the Newfoundland and Labrador Medical Association had no idea that was happening prior to the public announcement. So today the association held an emergency meeting to discuss government's plan.
It's a disappointment, because I think that, the NLMA and physicians were very much concerned about quality of care. And I think we could offer a lot to help inform government around, how we understand that there is a crisis and we need to support, more physicians coming into the province. But we have a lot of expertise, and I think we would be able to offer some suggestions around how new processes could, maintain quality.
Well, as for the board that licenses doctors, the College of Physicians and Surgeons released a statement today. It says government asked it to be part of the committee that will examine licensing processes, and it plans to make sure that safety and quality care remain part of the vetting process. Well, RNC Police Chief Pat Roach is being called out once again for staying silent about a new report released by a local Indigenous advocacy group. The First Voice Urban Indigenous Coalition says the chief has not responded to its request to discuss the report, which is about police reform. Well, today, PC opposition MHA Tony Wakeham appeared on CBC Radio's Crosstalk. He says the chief is showing a lack of leadership.
The key element that was missing was the chief of police. And here we are today talking about a chief implies a leader. He is the leader of a police force in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, and he's refusing to go and sit down and meet with someone. I don't understand that. To me, that's such a basic principle of leadership, is to sit down and meet with people who need and want to be heard. And so that is the fundamental thing here, that we're talking about the fact that he refuses to sit down and meet. And I think the minister should call up the chief of police. And if the chief of police doesn't want to go by himself, then the minister will go with him.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was one topic covered on Crosstalk today, but politicians from all three parties also discussed the $500 cost of living check that the majority of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians will be receiving. So we'll hear more about that later in the program.
All right, in the weather, it's going to be calm and quiet, just like my microphone was. We will have some cloud and some fog tonight. That's going to dissipate, though, on Saturday, leaving behind some sun and cloud. However, we could have a little bit of rain for Labrador West. We'll talk about that. And this beautiful weather, it's not going to stick around. We're going to have some rain on Sunday. We can talk about that too. And a visit to St. Matthew's School today, where the kids dressed up as weather to raise money for the Red Cross for Fiona relief. Talk about that a little later on.
Thanks, Heather. Well, a church that's been used by Catholics in Portugal Cove for more than a century will host its final Mass on Sunday. But the last chapter for Holy Rosary as a place of Christian worship is proving to be a controversial one. Here now's Terry Roberts reports.
Generations of Catholics have worshipped here. It's been linked to the ongoing abuse scandal that has rocked a once powerful institution. And now Holy Rosary Church is set to close. A casualty of a court-supervised insolvency and a faith community that has shrunk dramatically.
Although it's considered the last Mass by the Archbishop, we're hoping it's not.
But some are fighting the decision, all the way to the church's worldwide headquarters, alleging the Archbishop did not follow church laws as it relates to closing a church.
We are appealing to Rome, to the Vatican, the closure of Holy Rosary Parish.
When parishioners learned last spring their church will be sold as part of a broader effort to compensate abuse victims, Ed Martin led an effort to raise money. They submitted a bid, and it was accepted by the firm overseeing the sale of churches.
We are financially viable.
Separately, the local Chamber of Commerce is buying the priest's house, the parish hall, and the parking lot. But efforts to save the church were dashed recently when the Archbishop announced that Holy Rosary does not fit into future plans for the Archdiocese and that he will not be assigning a priest to this church. But Ed Martin is appealing that decision to church leaders here in Canada and in Rome.
They do have the ability to override a bishop's decision to close a parish.
But it's an uphill battle for Martin and his group. Their request to delay the sales process has been rejected, and there's division among Catholics, with some saying it's time to accept reality with plans to refund all donations.
Yes, there are some people who may be willing to give up, but there's a lot who still have hope.
The Archbishop is not changing his mind and is urging churchgoers to practice their faith at neighboring parishes. He says hard choices have to be made in order for the Archdiocese to meet its legal and financial obligations to victims. The Archbishop has declined all interview requests, but said in a statement, "We hope and pray the final Mass at Holy Rosary Church on Sunday may be a celebration that brings some consolation and comfort to the parishioners."
I'm sorry, but I find it very unjust. So I will fight, and other people are willing to fight, to see justice served.
Meanwhile, the Chamber of Commerce has indicated it's willing to buy the church and repurpose it as a community center. But it's a sensitive topic, and the president is staying clear of the debate. As for Ed Martin, he'll give up the fight.
When the Vatican says, too bad, so sad.
As this controversy plays out, the Archdiocese is making plans to transfer sacramental records to another church not far from here. Ed Martin, he won't be attending Sunday's final Mass. Terry Roberts, CBC News, Portugal Cove, St. Philip's.
Well, several women were shocked this week to learn their abuser, a man with multiple convictions for domestic violence, was allowed to legally change his name. Adam Budgell is now Adam Penny, and survivors of his abuse say he shouldn't be allowed to start over with a new name. Ryan Cook has been covering Adam Budgell's abuses since 2018, and he joins us now with this story. So Ryan, the big question on everyone's mind is, how was this allowed to happen?
Well, Carolyn, there's no law prohibiting any resident of this province from changing their name, no matter who you are or what you've done. And Adam Budgell, now Adam Penny, has a lot that he may want to escape from. He's got at least a dozen convictions for abuse against 3 women in Newfoundland and Ontario. Each of them were in relationships with Penny at the time of the assaults. We did a story in 2018 because he was wanted for a particularly vicious sexual assault in Welland, Ontario. And the survivor of that attack was worried that Budgell wouldn't be returned from Newfoundland to face the charges against him. And as a result of that story, he was shipped back to Ontario and was sentenced to 40 months in federal prison. Now, what that actually means is serving 2/3 of 40 months, which he did, and was released on conditions into a halfway house. So this is someone who is currently on court conditions. He's on a sex offenders registry until 2039, but he's able to legally change his name.
Okay, so what are the women in his past saying about this?
Well, they're absolutely shocked. I spoke with one woman from Welland, Ontario, who was notified by a letter from Correctional Service Canada a few days ago. She said it was like being re-victimized all over again. She doesn't believe that he should have the right to change his name, given what he did to her, given what he admitted to, and the fact that he's on a sex offender registry for the next 20 years. So she's completely distraught because she worked so hard to let people know who he really was. She plastered his face over social media, she pressured the police to have him returned to Ontario, and she was prepared to testify against him, also that people would know what Adam Budgell did. Now, people might know what Adam Budgell did, but not Adam Penny, so she really wants to see Newfoundland and Labrador tighten up its rules on who can change their name.
And is there any chance that could happen?
Well, it's possible. We spoke with Service NL Minister Sarah Studley yesterday, and she said that she's not aware of any problems with the current system, but when I asked, if a sex offender should have the right to change their name, she said it's something to look into. Now, Alberta and Saskatchewan are the only provinces right now where they don't allow sex offenders to change their names, so it's possible that Newfoundland and Labrador could become the third, but it will take legislative change, so we definitely won't see it happen anytime soon.
Well, thanks so much for this, Ryan.
Thanks for having me.
Canada's fishing industry is fighting back against a shellfish boycott initiated by a California environmental group. Seafood Watch has red-listed Atlantic lobster and snow crab, saying the way it's harvested is harmful to the endangered right whales. Chris O'Neill-Yates explains.
Dead North Atlantic right whales in eastern Canadian waters have become an all too familiar scene. Just 350 remain worldwide, and since 2017, 10% have been killed.
This is an animal that's on a trajectory towards extinction.
Kim Elmsley says right whales can become entangled in fishing gear.
It's almost a perfect storm in that you have this highly endangered species as well as such an important fishing area.
Bernard Martin has fished for 50 years.
To be honest, I don't know anyone who's seen a right whale in this community.
Right whales are rare in Newfoundland waters. Entanglements and boat collisions are more common in the Gulf of St. Lawrence and in U.S. waters. Yet catches from Maine to Newfoundland are all lumped together in this red alert. The last right whale entanglement on record off Newfoundland was in 1984 in cod gear that's no longer used.
We've been called up to the Maritimes to work on them because they had no one else up there to do that, but we've never worked on any of these animals here.
It's kind of a bazooka approach. So the harvesters in Newfoundland who've never seen a whale are put in the same boat as the harvesters in the Gulf who are seeing them now.
Irvine says ropeless gear and closing fisheries when right whales are sighted, along with other measures, have been developed to minimize the impact on right whales all throughout Atlantic Canada.
I think the right approach is to work with fishermen, work with people who are on the front lines.
We have to have a balance. We're not going to shut down the lobster and the crab fishery in Canada.
As for Seafood Watch, we reached out to ask about the reasoning behind including Atlantic lobster and snow crab on their red list. They have not responded. Chris O'Neill Yates, CBC News, St. John's.
Coming up on Here and Now, we got out into the weather, into the sunshine today to visit St. Matthew's School. Students there raised money for the Red Cross. We'll tell you how much by emptying their piggy banks after this. Well, before we get to the forecast, today was weather day at St. Matthew's School in St. John's, so naturally we had to stop by. And the students dressed up as all sorts of weather, and let me tell you, it was a spectacle. It was led by the school's Silly Squad, and it was for a really good cause.
Oh, Silly Squad, I like that. Many of the students emptied their piggy banks after learning about the destruction Fiona caused on the southwest coast of the island, and they're going to donate that money to the Red Cross. So let's have a look.
Tell me a little bit about what all the kids on the Silly Squad are doing here today.
So each year we have a Silly Squad here at St. Matthew's. It's usually a grade 5 leadership team that takes the role, and each month we celebrate an organization, and the kids choose a silly theme for that month, and they ask the other students in the school to bring along some spare donations, and we donate it. Or for instance, we've done the Gathering Place in the past, and we bought in toiletries and stuff for them as well.
Why did you guys decide to donate to the Red Cross this time?
A lot of students and families were affected by Hurricane Fiona on the southwest coast, so we decided that we needed to take action as a team and come up with our own Silly Squad to support them and to encourage other schools, perhaps across Newfoundland and Labrador, to do the same.
Tell me a little bit about what you're wearing today. What colors?
I'm wearing for the hurricane, the little pattern, and for the blue one, my pants I got for the sky.
What did your class do? Did you raise money?
You know, in our class we raised I think $75.25 or 50 cents.
Well, I decided to be rainbow because there's so many colors in the world, and rainbows are some of the luckiest things you can find.
Lovely. Tell me a little bit about how you became a rainbow. Tell me more about your rainbow outfit.
Well, we decided to be a rainbow because so after a storm there's sometimes a rainbow, so we like that quote to go with it.
Why is it important to help people and donate to the Red Cross?
Because a lot of people got affected by Hurricane Fiona.
And what did you think when you saw that?
It was very sad that a lot of people's homes got destroyed.
And how does it feel to help?
It feels better for everybody to chip in a little and help them out.
What did you learn in school about the weather?
That it can change drastically. It can also do a lot of harm.
And what did you guys do for people in Port aux Basques and on the southwest coast?
We raised money for the Red Cross.
We just want to thank everyone in all the St. Matthew's community that brought in their spare change and helped their families get ready for today with their costumes. And we'd just like to encourage everyone else across the province to show spirit in their school and help those in need as well. So we hope that at the end of the storm, those who are affected by the hurricane can see the rainbow and have a bright future.
And lots of kindness.
Absolutely.
Well, that's so nice. And there is one costume that we didn't see in that, because you were dressed up too. Tell us about your costume.
I had to join in the fun, of course. I had a big fuzzy sweater with some streamers on it. They were sparkly circles, so I was Hale.
And you had sequin
pants. Yeah.
It was a great costume.
It was really fun. So the school's assistant principal, Allison North, says that they raised $680 today for Fiona relief, and 80 of that alone came from one grade 2 class, and they all emptied out their piggy banks.
Oh, it's so nice.
Yeah, really nice.
Yeah, every bit counts, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so let's talk about the weather now.
Yeah.
We're heading into the weekend. You mentioned earlier that things are going to change a little bit.
A little bit. On Sunday, we should have some rain for many parts of the province and some showers. But, today, another beautiful one. I almost feel like it's Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Because it's, so nice, mid-teens. Let's take a look at how today shaped up. 16 in St. John's, 17 into the Burin Peninsula and Terra Nova, and even into the west coast, and 18 degrees in Stephenville today. Another beautiful day with a lot of sun and cloud after that fog burned off this morning. It got a little cooler, of course, into Labrador at 9 in Makovic, Hopedale 7, and Nain 6, but not a bad day into Western Labrador today. Let's take a look now at the future tracker, 6 o'clock Friday. pretty well right now. We have clear skies for much of the island, some cloud over the southwest coast here, and a little bit of drizzle for you as well. But as we move into midnight, we're going to get more cloud, just like last night, more cloud, more fog moving across the island. And then we have this, some showers ready to move into Labrador West in the early morning hours. We'll have more of that cloud and fog go across the island until the early morning. When you wake up, it will be foggy and cloudy. Taking a closer look at tonight in St. John's, it's going to be 6 degrees with a few clouds. We will see some fog moving across, of course, like we just talked about and what the future tracker showed us. It will be a little warmer inland at 2 degrees. For Bonavista, Clarenville, into central Gander, Grand Falls, it'll be clear tonight. You will see a little bit of fog as well. It will be as cool as 1 in low-lying areas. Down to Marystown now, 4 degrees there, a few clouds, but if you're on the coast, it will be warmer, feeling like 10 degrees for you. Going across now the south coast, some drizzle tonight in Port aux Basques, 9 degrees. The winds might be an issue for you tonight, gusting to 60 in the Rec House, 3 in Corner Brook with some increasing cloud and some fog, and in St. Anthony and the Straits, you're going to have a few clouds. You'll see that fog as well, but the rest of Labrador won't really see as much of that fog that we're talking about for the island. Temperatures between 3 in Nain and 8 in Cartwright with a little bit of cloud, and then we'll have some showers starting this evening for Lab City Wabush. And you'll have a little bit of wind to southeast gusting to 40. Taking a look at the future tracker, again going into the overnight, all of that cloud. When you wake up, you'll have that cloud around, but it'll burn off starting around the early afternoon. It'll push off, and then we'll have more rain, showers moving in for Labrador City Wabush area. And you'll have more moving into the Churchill Falls area in the early morning on Sunday. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Let's take a closer look at tomorrow now. 17 degrees, 16 degrees for the Avalon and Bonavista peninsulas. And this is much warmer than normal. It's normally around 10, 11 degrees this time of year. For Marystown, 14, it'll feel like 18 along the coast. On into central now, 16 degrees, a mix of sun and cloud for you guys as well. And down here on the Conagra Peninsula, 18 for you, but 14 if you're anywhere inland. Back to the west coast here now. It's going to be windy in Port aux Basques, gusting to 70 tomorrow in the Rec House area. You'll have some drizzle here, some clouds in Burgeo. Lovely day on the west coast. On up to the northern peninsula, 15, 12 degrees depending on where you are, a mix of sun and cloud for you too. 19, warm spot in Mary's Harbor tomorrow, 16 in Cartwright, 17 in Makovic at Happy Valley Goose Bay. Still warm temperatures. Normally it's about 3 degrees for this part of Labrador, so much higher than normal. And there you go. You see that rain tomorrow on Saturday. You could pick up 5 to 10 millimeters in the daytime hours, 2 overnight. Some winds to talk about from the southeast, 20 gusting to 40. Otherwise, right now, the winds are pretty light except for in the Port aux Basques area, so not much to talk about with that as well. Like I said, calm and quiet. We'll talk about our long range coming up.
We're brainstorming how we could celebrate our home, Labrador. We were tossing around a few ideas, but as soon as someone said film festival, we all kind of went like, oh yeah, like that, I think we should do that.
Coming up next, highlights from the first ever Big Land Film Festival in Labrador. A new event in Labrador recently got filmmakers excited. The first ever Big Land Film Festival launched in Happy Valley Goose Bay at the Lawrence O'Brien Centre. The festival was organized through the province's Come Home Year funding. Rafsan Farouk Jugal brings us the highlights.
Most of the problems in aid, well, almost all of them is related to alcohol and all the crimes. Most of the crimes are related to alcohol. Do you think the church or the elders are doing anything about it or trying to do anything about it?
Organizers for the first film festival for Labrador wanted to find a way to celebrate the region during Come Home Year.
We were brainstorming how we could celebrate our home of Labrador, and we were tossing around a few ideas, but as soon as someone said film festival, we all kind of went like, oh yeah, like that, I think we should do that.
Lawrence O'Brien Centre in Happy Valley Goose Bay was a busy place earlier this month as the hub of the inaugural Big Land Film Festival. It was the site of many film screenings and a book launch. The book called Labrador Cinema is currently only on sale in Labrador, and it catalogs over a century of filmmaking.
Our attitudes towards a lot of social issues are different. Our relationships, culturally are different. So the filmmaking is getting, more genuine and wiser and richer, and it's coming from a greater diversity of voices, and, we're all learning from one another. So Labrador Cinema is just deepening and enriching all the time.
And then after the book launch part of things, we had a really cool dance event where we partnered with Neighborhood Dance Works, which is a dance company out of St. John's. And they had been working with local dancers here to put off a improvisational movement piece called The Fire Kedgies Come Home.
Truth and reconciliation was also a major theme during the events.
The Indigenous peoples in Labrador kind of telling different histories, different stories. So it was really like powerful documentaries, and it was a really, I think, a lovely way to spend the day reflecting and learning about the first peoples of these lands, and it was a really special day too.
This may be the first Big Land Film Festival, but organizers say it won't be the last. They're hoping to have a second one next year. Rafsan Farouk Jugal, CBC News, Happy Valley Goose Bay.
The $500 cost of living check will be welcome in many households in the province. Around 392,000 Newfoundlanders and Labradorians will be receiving that one-time benefit. It was a topic up for debate on CBC Radio's Crosstalk with Adam Walsh this afternoon. He asked a political panel about what that payment will accomplish as we face inflation and the rising cost of living.
I've been in a place too where a $500 check would have been most welcome. No issue with that. And you look at the interviews that people when people are interviewed on this, I'm getting a $500 check, great. But once it's gone, and the cost of living is still going to be there. In some cases, that $500 check may not cover the cost of an increase to rent that year. For one lady, she said, "Well, I'm going to be able to get my teeth done." The long-standing issue, but guess what? That still won't solve the problem that we have that people don't have dental coverage in this province. When it comes to even affordable housing, it's not addressing that long-term systemic issues that I'm hearing in my district. And I will hear long after this $500 check has been distributed. People are still going to be struggling to make ends meet, put food on the table, and so on and so forth. One of the things that we called upon, and very clearly in terms of having a meaningful, livable wage with minimum income and a guaranteed basic income, which looks like something that we've insisted on, is going to be moving ahead. So I think if anything else, Adam, it comes down to one-offs are not good enough. We've got a long-term systemic problem that needs to be addressed, and we've got to start doing something meaningful. And while $500 is appreciative, I can tell you I had a number of people said, "Oh my goodness, we could have solved other issues with our medical system or with other things that people need."
It seems that this was another rushed initiative to get out just before the House opened, and at the same time didn't consider the family household income. And I think a lot of people have trouble with that concept that somehow or other two individuals with no children could actually get $1,000 between them, while a single person who may have 3 or 4 kids will wind up potentially getting nothing. So that's some of the challenges when you rush to implement stuff. thing, people get left behind. And that's the whole problem with this. It's not that I'm glad to see that they're doing something, because I've always said if the province finds itself in a situation where it has extra monies, and I agree that, take some of those extra one-time monies, pay down your debt, but also there could be an opportunity to help the people in Newfoundland and Labrador. But again, it seems to be without a plan.
The money bit for sending out checks has been done in other parts of Canada. So you don't think your party would, if in power, would have done this at all? Because it seems it's kind of popular, right?
Right. No, it's not. It's not the fact that you want to give back to the people of Newfoundland and Labrador, but the whole point is let's base it on need. That's the whole principle here, is to protect and help those who need it the most.
I mean, members of the House Assembly will be getting this, right? So like you'll get a check. Probably ish.
Yeah, I won't get a check.
Okay, but there will be members who don't make that. Who make less than 150 who will be getting a check, and then the question is, do they need it?
Right.
The comments sort of seem to see that it was rushed, but really the way I see it is that our government is responding to really global crisis, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't plan for high inflation. I don't think any country in the world knew that inflation was going to happen like this. Can't plan for a war in Ukraine that sends gas prices soaring. You can't plan for high costs of living that are here not only in Newfoundland and Labrador and throughout Canada, but really across the world. We were talking about chatting before we started about UK politics and the high cost of energy prices there. So all governments have to deal with this, and that all these governments didn't plan for it. So what can governments do? Well, they can respond, and that's what we've done. We've responded. We responded when we did the budget in April, and we're responding now, and we'll continue to respond based on the global factors that affect Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. I think that's what the finance minister's done, and I think it's good to do that. Otherwise, we can, if we were sitting here saying, well, we did our budget in April, too bad. We're not going to change our minds. We're not going to do anything differently, despite the effects that people in this province are feeling. And the $500 certainly wasn't intended to fix everything. It was a response to an issue that's going on right now in the province. There are other things that have been done. You look at lowering the cost of the price of gas at the pump, lowering the gas tax here, lowering childcare costs to $10 a day, increasing the income supplement to those who need it, obviously, increase to seniors benefit, and increase to income support. So there are targeted approaches to all kinds of individuals in different fiscal circumstances in this province. To just say that $500, some people need it, some people don't. You know what? I can venture to guess that almost everybody in the province can use $500 right now, because the cost of groceries has gone up. So yeah, you might make $99,000 a year, but you might have 4 kids and you still got to buy milk and groceries, and it's a lot of money. Right? And $500 is a week's worth of groceries. I can tell you, I've heard from people who are making that much money, and they appreciate it, and it does go a long way for now.
Day 2 of hearings into the federal government's use of the Emergencies Act took place in Ottawa today. We'll have the details next. Downtown Ottawa residents terrified of leaving their own homes, businesses losing income, all bewildered by the lack of police response to the raucous protests in Ottawa last winter. That is what witnesses told the commission looking into the government's use of the Emergencies Act. Rafi Boudjikanian has more on the second day of the public hearings.
The convoy's occupation of downtown Ottawa lasted around 3 weeks, but today the Commission of Inquiry heard the impact lingered.
The long-term effects are loss of hearing, loss of balance, some vertigo, triggered by the sound of any horn now, triggered by certain music. It just was an assault on my hearing.
They would increase their honking and target their honking and shout at us, shout at me about how they were doing things for us and that they were fighting for our freedoms. It didn't feel safe. You know, my guard was up all the time and the people that are supposed to help you weren't helping you.
Ottawa police trying to show they were doing their job, especially after Lee became the center of attention as the face of a class action lawsuit initiated by residents and businesses, which led to her receiving threats online.
And the Ottawa police actually attended your residence a couple of occasions as well, correct?
That is correct.
The lawyer representing some convoy organizers said that regardless of events, the federal government had no business invoking the Emergencies Act.
You didn't see anything that could be classified as espionage or sabotage?
No.
Thank you. It's never said the commission or saw any protesters or truckers physically harm anyone, is that right?
I would describe it as intimidation with a truck.
At least for one city councillor, it went further. He and his family temporarily vacated their home and say police did not respond to their report of threats.
Any public office holder, our information can unfortunately be found online in some instances, and I believe that that's how protesters were able to find my home address and show up.
The city's response to the crisis will take center stage on Monday as both Mayor Jim Watson and manager Steve Kanellakis are expected to speak. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
Vladimir Putin says Russia's recruitment of new troops will end within 2 weeks, and there are no plans for further mobilization. Meanwhile, the shelling of Ukrainian cities continued today. 3 long-range missiles hit Zaporizhzhia. The regional governor said they damaged mill production plants. No word on any casualties. The attack comes 5 days after a blast hit Russia's road and rail bridge to Crimea. Well, British Prime Minister Liz Truss has ditched her finance minister, the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
I met the former Chancellor earlier today. I was incredibly sorry to lose him. He is a great friend, and he shares my vision to set this country on the path to growth.
Kwasi Kwarteng is Britain's shortest-serving chancellor since 1970. Along with Kwarteng, Truss has abandoned a plan to cut corporate taxes. Truss says she's acting to reassure financial markets. Jeremy Hunt takes over as chancellor. He's a former foreign minister and health secretary. Well, heavy rain has caused flash flooding in southeastern Australia, forcing thousands of residents to leave their homes.
I knew it'd be bad, but when I just came around and saw the water, it's, very emotional. And we've got to face when we can get back into it.
An intense weather system has brought a month's worth of rain to the region in just 2 days. With the water level rising, many people and animals had to be rescued. The rain is expected to let up on the weekend, but flooding could continue. Devastating floods have repeatedly struck Australia's east coast since early last year because of La Niña weather phenomenon. Check out CBC Radio's Weekend AM tomorrow morning. Host Heather Barrett is live on location in Triton, where she's focusing on small business, knitting, and accordions. Check it out tomorrow morning on CBC Radio. let's find out who's celebrating. Congratulations to Ross and Christine Gillingham of Labrador City, who are celebrating their 53rd wedding anniversary. Best wishes to Claude and Louise Jones of Jackson's Arm, who are celebrating 65 years of marriage. Happy 56th anniversary to Ray and Jen White of Badger. It's a 60th anniversary for Linda and Wilson Hurley of Grand Falls, Windsor. Happy 62nd anniversary to Patsy and Enos Brown of Foxtrap. Happy 54th anniversary to Clarence and Gay Rumbold in Corner Brook. Anniversary greetings going out to Doreen and Carl Hamlin. It's their 50th. Happy anniversary to Harry and Rose Phillips of St. John's, who are celebrating 66 years of marriage. Happy 50th anniversary to Mikey and Alice Walsh from Mobile. Wishing Marguerite and Brian Payne a happy 52nd wedding anniversary. Congratulations to Gilbert and Mamie Oakley of Chamberlain's on their 58th anniversary. Happy 56th anniversary to Joyce and Ben Hilliard of Red Bay. Best wishes to Steve and Maureen Pike of Kilbride on their 58th anniversary. Happy anniversary to Charlie and Alma Anderson of Burgeo. They're celebrating 63 years together today. Anniversary greetings going out to Pearl and Harold Short of Glovertown, who are celebrating 56 years of marriage. Best wishes to Solomon and Patricia Lake of Pasadena, who mark 50 years of marriage on Sunday. Lots of love from family and friends. Wishing Jim and Barb Mackey of Twillingate a happy 50th wedding anniversary today. Happy 56th anniversary to Aubrey and Zeta Parsons of Lumsden. Now to some birthdays, starting with a milestone. Wishing Leonie Hollett of Gander a happy 100th birthday. Birthday greetings going out to Annie Patey from St. Anthony. She's celebrating her 97th birthday. Happy 91st birthday to Martha Douglas of Grand Bank. Happy 91st birthday to Ruth Maidment in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Happy 91st birthday as well to Henry Young of Grand Falls, Windsor. Isaac Morgan of Seal Cove turned 93 yesterday. Happy birthday. Happy 99th birthday to Leela Hicks in Bonavista. Happy birthday to Percy Rideout, who's turning 91. Happy 96th birthday to Andrew Keogh of Plate Cove East. Joyce Holloway from Monroe Trinity Bay is celebrating her 91st birthday. Happy 91st birthday as well to Vernon Wiseman of Shoal Harbor. Happy 90th birthday to Margaret Jennings of Morton's Harbor. Wishing Josie Hopkins a happy 93rd birthday. Hope you have a wonderful day. Birthday greetings going out to Ida Brown in Goose Bay. She just turned 92. Happy birthday to Shirley Bursey of St. John's. She's now 94 years young. Happy 90th birthday to William F. Collins of Placentia. Happy 94th birthday to Bessie Redmond of Norris Arms South, now living in St. John's. Happy 98th birthday to Mary Elliott in Corner Brook. It's a 92nd birthday for Louise Sweetapple in Gander. Happy 90th birthday to Teresa Mole of Flat Rock, now living in Dillsburg, Pennsylvania. Bernard Woodford of Herring Neck is celebrating his 90th birthday. Patrick Linehan from Branch is also marking his 90th birthday. Happy 100th birthday to Jane Dooley from Sweet Bay, now living in Clarenville. Another fine crowd this week. Congratulations once again. So before we bring in Heather with your forecast, just take a look at this. Yes, it was once a thing of science fiction lore, but now flying cars have become a reality. This prototype was designed by a Chinese automaker and made its first public flight in Dubai, and it's electric. The two-seater, called the X2, flew without a driver or pilot for about 90 seconds during its debut. It features vertical takeoff and landing, powered by 8 propellers. The manufacturer described the test as an important step for the next generation of flying cars.
Looks like that's from the Jetson age.
Yes, it reminds you of Back to the Future.
The DeLorean. Very cool.
Wow, so neat. Okay, so long-range forecast. Looking ahead past the weekend, things are taking a turn.
Yeah, it looks like we are going to lose some of that really nice weather that we have had. We've been so lucky to have some rain on Sunday and then some showers, but let's take a look. So going on into Saturday, we see that rain moving into Western Labrador, and then it comes on up from the southwest coast to sweep across the island. So on Sunday, it looks like we are going to have some rain for much of the island, for the south coast, Marystown, Port aux Basques, into central here in Grand Falls, Windsor, the west coast, and up in St. Anthony and the Straits. It looks like it might be a mix of sun and cloud for you, but we will see some rain in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and some showers in Nain as well. Temperatures still looking pretty good though, 16, 17 degrees on the Avalon and into central, and cooling off as we get up into the northern peninsula, but not too bad in Labrador. Looking ahead into the overnight, you see that rain. It's going to continue to sweep across the island and move off into Monday when we all go back to work. It looks like we will have some showers sticking around, mix of sun and cloud in St. John's, some showers in Marystown, in through Central and up through St. Anthony as well, and along the southeast coast of Labrador. But some sun finally for the southeast coast and a mix of sun and cloud for the west coast. You see the sun in northern Labrador as well, and finally in Labrador City and in Wabush. Let's taking a look at our long term now for St. John's and eastern parts of the island. It looks like we will have some sun to start out your weekend. A little bit of sun and cloud on Monday. There you go. Some showers on Tuesday and back to some cloud and some sun on Wednesday. Temperatures looking pretty good, between 15 and 17, and still pretty warm in the overnight. On to central now. And to the west coast and central, you'll have a nice day tomorrow, as will much of the island. Your showers move in on Sunday and Monday, as we just saw, clearing off a little bit on Tuesday. Still nice temperatures for you, between 15 and 17. Pretty chilly Saturday overnight though, but your other lows look like they are pretty warm. For western Newfoundland, nice day of course Saturday. In comes your rain on Sunday, clearing for the rest of the week for you. Temperatures reaching 18 on Saturday and 15, 16, 17 for the rest of your week. For Labrador now on the east coast, nice day Saturday. In comes the rain on Sunday, clearing off, but more rain on your west coast. And then for western Labrador, you get rain tomorrow instead of the nice day that everybody else gets. Nice day Sunday and Monday, and you get your rain moving in on Tuesday and Wednesday. Let's take a look now at our weather photo. Isn't that just stunning?
Yeah, all the mist on the water.
I know. Magical morning mist is what I called it.
It does look magical.
This comes to us from Robin Lush, and she said she was in the Goulds taking this one for an early morning kayak.
Oh, gorgeous. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for joining us. Hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Good night.